007 First Light running on the Xbox Ally X. In this video, I'm going to be going over the gameplay and performance, the settings I'm using, and what I recommend. If you happen to enjoy handheld performance tests like this and you would like to see more, definitely go ahead and subscribe, like the video, and let's get into it. Before I get too far, however, I do want to mention that this game is heavily focused on story and cinematic moments, so I am going to try my best to try to keep the video as spoiler-free as possible. However, if you want to go ahead and see more gameplay, I'll have an extended non-commentary gameplay towards the end of the video that may contain some spoilers depending on what's shown. But as always, we are going to head into the settings first, followed by gameplay. I'm going to go into the options and then the graphics section. For the resolution, I do have the game set to 1600 by 900. You could definitely play this at 1080p if you want to, but you are going to lose some FPS and you'll probably need to tweak a few settings. Display mode is set to full screen, and I do have VSync enabled because there was some noticeable screen tearing. VSync interval is set to 1, transfer function is left at 2.2, and upscaling is using AMD FSR set to balance. If you want to play at 1080p, I do recommend changing this to performance instead. Texture quality and everything else is pretty much set to high, and then texture filtering is 8x. Now, when I was testing at 1080p, I did find that leaving texture quality and terrain quality at high while dropping everything else down to medium gave me the best overall experience. And then from there, things like motion blur, film grain, and everything else is completely personal preference, so you could go ahead and toggle those however you want. Now, if you found settings that work better for you than the ones that I have here, definitely leave them in the comment section down below. It may help someone else out trying to get the best experience possible on their handheld. While testing the game, I did jump between different resolutions, and what I found is that 900p with everything set to high and FSR set to balance looked the best overall for me, while still keeping the performance where I wanted it. For the performance itself, it fluctuates quite a bit depending on what's happening on screen. You could be in an open area and have 40 FPS, or you could be in a small room and have mid-30s. It does fluctuate quite a bit, especially with heavier scenes with a lot of NPCs, lightings, and different effects that are happening. I've seen it dipped into the mid-30s, and then you go ahead and walk into another room and suddenly it jumps right back up into the 50s. Most of the time though, the game did average around mid 40 FPS range, which honestly felt really solid for this type of game. While testing the game, I did try to play at 17 watts performance mode. However, the FPS dipped a little too much to make the game enjoyable. So 20 watts manual mode is where I set it, and this is pretty much the minimum that you're going to want to play it at. Now, if you're playing in 35 watt turbo mode, that's where you're going to see that mid 40s, a little upper 40 FPS range, and then it dips into about 38 FPS in heavier situations. Now, there's not much of a gain between the two, but if you happen to be plugged in, definitely just do that instead. Now, this is the area of the game where I saw it drop the hardest. This got to about 34 FPS, but interesting enough, you just walk into another room and it jumps right back up to 50 FPS. And like I mentioned, depending on where you are, the game's FPS can fluctuate hard. However, even during those moments, I never really felt like it was unplayable and that it was just ruining the experience. Outside of performance, I did notice a few weird gameplay hiccups here and there during combat. Sometimes the animations or character movements would clip strangely into walls or feel a little sporadic. It never actually broke the game, but it was noticeable enough for me to have to mention. I also mentioned earlier that the screen tearing issue, which for me was completely fixed once I enabled the VSync. Now, I know a lot of people like to avoid using it, but in this situation, it genuinely improved the experience for me. Even during heavier action scenes with explosions or large combat encounters, I never really noticed massive stutters or dramatic frame drops. The FPS stayed pretty stable throughout the combat, and I never actually saw the game go below 30 FPS. For a slower paced cinematic game like this, it's honestly felt perfectly fine. So far, this is definitely one I would recommend checking out, especially if you're a fan of the Hitman series. Overall, 007 First Light runs really well on the Xbox Ally X. Could use some improvements here and there, and optimization is always welcome, but with a little bit of tweaking depending on how you want to play, it holds up surprisingly well on the handheld. That's going to be it for this one. If you happen to have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. If you haven't already, consider subscribing, like the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.
What are you doing? Come on! Run!
Keep moving! Watch out! Shit! Come on! Everybody okay? Follow me this way. There's a way out. the detonator! Hold your fire!
What is this now? You want to blow us up
Yeah, thinking about it.
and destroy the asset? MI6 would never.
I'm not MI6.
When you've got the old boy network on your side.
What do you say, mate? Call it a day? Okay. No more kickless! Pub rules it is! If you had half a clue, you might actually be dangerous!
How did you even get here?
Mommy and Daddy pull some strings.